Monday. We're going to keep talking about capoing. Obviously, got my capo on. I kind of chopped off a bit of this so that I can make that a little bit bigger. And that's basically all 12 keys. I think do I have all 12 keys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 keys. So, and there's enharmonic. I could probably do the enharmonic modifications to the original. Where's the original? Yeah, here. So, by enharmonic, I mean D flat could also be called /C sharp. A flat, the key of A flat, could also be called G sharp, which is pretty rare. I don't think I've ever seen a song in G sharp. Let me see, what's another one that we F sharp could also be called G flat. That one I've seen, but F sharp's not a common key, but sometimes. Oh, how did you know it was my birthday? Yeah, so we're gonna. I want to explain this, chart again. I think it's super duper helpful as far as. Here's the thing, though. I don't want you to memorize this chart necessarily. Keep it handy. You can even print it up and put it in your guitar case, or print it up and put it in every acoustic guitar case. I think I have a capo in every one of my acoustic guitar cases, just because you get to that gig and you go you want to make sure you have one. You can always forget, so they're relatively cheap, and a Shub's a good capo. We can talk a little bit about what capos to get. The Shub, this is a what's this one again? This one is probably the Nashville capo. The problem with this one, this is the Page capo. You can't really do higher frets. It won't fit. So you can't really go up high. Even the 7th fret is a little bit of I guess it works at the 7th. But if you really want to go high, and then if you really want to get high, if you must get high, the Shub is great because I feel like you can adjust the tension. The only problem is you can't clip it to your headstock. So you might leave it behind, which has happened. I've lost a couple Shubs. The other thing is if you're playing live, if I'm leading worship, I would always have a capo like a Kaiser or a Dunlop that I would clip to the headstock, and then I could throw it on. And so most of those Kaiser and Dunlops now are kind of in guitar cases that, like, maybe guitars I don't use very often, but I want to make sure I have a capo in them. So that's kind of the Shub capo really is kind of my favorite. The Page is really nice. I don't know, it's pretty old school. It's really well made. It's a beautiful capo. I think it's made in the U.S. and it's like really good steel, So it's a beautiful workmanship. Kind of like that. The Shub's the same way. I feel like the Shub, especially the newer ones with a little wheel there, that's kind of cool. It's just a great mechanism, brilliant design. But yeah, so I talk about the reasons to capo, and last week we talked largely the main reason to capo is to get yourself out of bad keys. But also a big reason to capo is to change the timbre. Okay, so let's say you've written a song, or you're playing a song, or you're writing a song. And you wrote a song in the key E, but man, E is such a big rock and roll banger key, Oh, and I had to turn down the volume because I listened to last week's, and it was, whenever I was going, it was distorting it. And so I apologize. It's probably still going to distort. I see it going to the red, but it was pegged in the red. So I'll try to back off a little bit when I'm, hey, Gabriel, thank you. Hey, Holly, Bob. Thanks for jumping in on the admin. Oh, Bruce is here too. Well, you know, the thing is, capos, they're not, like I said, you can get them, you get Chinese capos pretty cheap, couple bucks, I think. But when I was a kid, I took a pencil and some rubber bands, and, you know, you can put a pencil across here and then start wrapping rubber bands, like, it kind of worked. It was a little buzzy, and you might have to put 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10 rubber bands on there, but it actually, hey, Brad, what's going on? Yes, it is my birthday today, and I'm with you all. Actually, you don't celebrate birthdays. If you don't celebrate them, they don't count, so that's why I'm still 39. So the key of E, this big, you know, you have this big E chord, A chord, and then if I'm going to cheat on the E chord on the 6th chord, I could play this C sharp minor 7 chord, which is a nice little cheater, and then the B sus. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting my first finger on the 5th string on the 4th fret, and then I'm making a power chord basically. My 3rd finger on the 6th fret of the 4th string, and then my pinky on the 6th fret of the 3rd string, and the top 2 strings open. And it's C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, so that's root, 5th root of the C sharp chord. Then we have a B, which is the 7th, gives you kind of almost a jazzier sound. And then the E on top is the 3rd of the C sharp minor chord. And then if I just slide that power chord down 2 frets, I get this B sus chord. B is always a tough chord to play. But B, okay, but the thing is about this key, strum a little softer. The problem with that key is it's just, that voicing is that it's really big and boomy. But let's say the song is a tender love song. Not really, like, sonically it's not really there. So another reason to capo is to change the timbre of your guitar. And so if I use that chart there and I look at the key of E, I can capo at the 2nd fret, and then basically, whoops, flip this around. Basically use D shapes. And when I say D shapes, I just the standard chords in the key of D. And so, like I said, I don't want you to necessarily memorize this chart. Eventually you will have it memorized if you use, maybe some of it, you know, like D sharp or D flat, you might not, you know, memorize, or F sharp or whatever. But what I always suggest is, like, look, pick a capo spot and live with it for a while. Try to learn all the chords in that spot. So I'm now capoed at the 2nd fret, and when I play a D, that moves everything up 1 whole step. So if I play a D chord, it's really an E chord. Well, listen to this E chord. Oh, there's your tender love song. It's particularly the 1 chord. Though in the key of E, the 1 chord is E. And when you're in open position, that E chord is a 6th string, the lowest chord on your guitar. It's huge sounding. It sounds great. But again, you have to take... So here's my methodology when I'm working on music, okay? It doesn't matter if I'm playing live, when I'm playing at church, Brad, you know, if I'm playing up on stage, on a worship song, whether I'm playing on a record with somebody's record, or even if I'm playing on a song in a movie or a TV show or something like that, I try to create parts, if it's written out, then that's what I play. But if it's not written out, if it just says E on it, you know, and then C sharp minor and B and then A or whatever, I try to come up with a part that best serves the song. Like, the song is my boss. Not necessarily the songwriter, not necessarily the producer. The song is going to determine what how I play. And sometimes it's difficult because sometimes there's not a lot on it. It may just be a piano, and you gotta, like, okay, well, how do I do this? And then, you know, but if it's a full band thing and they want you to add guitar, if you're in a live session with a band, you're gonna kind of work it out and try to serve the song best. So this is where this comes in. This is like, that big, the song may be a tender song. You look at the lyrics. If you have lyrics, you can look at the lyrics and go, okay, you're singing about trucks. Okay, let's go back to the open E. Oh, you're singing about, your unrequited love. So that might be capo second fret and play E like this. Okay. Yeah, serve the song. It's kind of, I thought it was an original concept of mine, but it's actually, I hear it a lot in studios. A lot of musicians say the same thing. I've heard a lot of, podcasts or whatever, people talk about, doing sessions, and it's like, yeah, whatever's best for the song. It's a pretty common thread among working players. So, there may be a reason why you're not a working player. It's because you're not serving the song. You might be serving yourself. Here's a common example of someone not serving the song, and I'm guilty of this, okay? You get a new pedal. Oh, I got an auto wah. Check out this auto wah. Whack, 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 whack. Every song you use the auto wah, and it's like, yeah, let's not call that guy again. He's the auto wah guy. It's real tempting. Thank you, Holly, for doing all that. Oh, thanks for doing all that. Oh, it's fine. I think you're pretty darn close, and Bruce is here to improve it, I think. Yeah, my wife is there for my song. Exactly, yeah. Even on this day. So in this case, I can play. So again, just think of moving up a whole step, and this is where music theory comes in handy. It's like, oh, I don't understand music, I don't read music or whatever. But understanding a little bit can open some doors and make some realizations happen and make your life a lot easier as a musician. And then learning a lot more. I'm not talking about jazz theory or like analyzing Mozart pieces or anything like that. But knowing like that this is a D shape, but it's actually an E chord. That is a good piece of information to have. And the reason I always say that, I always like you to know I don't want you transposing necessarily. Like, for example, I don't want you, I want you to, so if you have a chart and it says D, G, or, if you're writing this song out and you're going D shape, G shape, B minor shape, A shape, you can write those shapes down, but the problem is that's not the chord you're playing. I'd rather you know the chord you're playing. So, because technically, if you know this is an E, you're not really transposing. You just know that this is an E chord. Because I always use this as an example. Like if I had you play this, you would know that was an E chord. Or if I had you play this, you'd probably figure out that was an A chord, not a G chord, right? It feels nothing like a G chord. It's a lot harder than a G chord. Or if you play a B chord, that's a B chord. And so how is that not a B chord when you're in the exact same position, you're just getting some help with a capo, and that's a B chord. So memorize, you can pick this fret position. It's a really good one to pick. I mean, I might start with 3rd fret because that way you can eliminate the keys of B flat and F, which are nice to get rid of as far as the difficulty of getting rid of them. But if we're here, the 2nd fret, this is now an E chord, this is an A chord, this is a C sharp minor chord, and this is a B chord. So we have she drives me crazy. So, those 4 chords, just memorize those. I'm not, again, I don't want you to memorize every position. I don't want you to memorize that whole chart necessarily, right over here, right there. But just memorize, good place for E is here as an alternate. We could technically write out, we could do a chart where you do all the caged keys. Okay, so in other words, if I wanted to play in the key of C and do E, And part of the reason why this capo is not that great is it's kind of hard to change frets. So I'm going to go back to the sharp. But if I go here, the 4th fret, we could go through all the cage methods. So C, if we wanted to use C shapes and play in the key of E, we would be at the 4th fret. If we wanted to use the next one would be A shapes. So we wanted to use A shapes in the key of E. Oops. Oh, wait. This would be E, A, C sharp minor to B. And all of them have a different timbre. They all have a different tone. We could even go, let's see, if I wanted to go use G shapes, because we really like the key of G. This is E, this is A, this is C sharp minor, this is B. And if you wanted to, you could start to memorize your capo positions in this manner. And then remember, we're spelling out the word cage, right? So we start with C, the A, the G. Well, the next one is E. Well, that would just be E shapes. And then the next one, caged, and the word caged, C-A-G-E. The next is D, and that's actually the one that seems to work the best. The two keys that are going to be the most friendly to your hands and are going to be the key of the shapes in the key of D and the shapes in the key of G. But we're talking not so much about ease as much as we are talking about timbre today. And so you'll notice that every one of those positions in the key of E had a very different sound. And here's the crazy thing is, like, your approach to those positions will be completely different. The way I play in D, I can't do any of that in the key of E. But if I'm up here at the 4th fret and using C shapes, I might go more country on that song. You see that? And if I even go up to the key of A, or the A shapes, I go up to the 7th fret. It's going to be very similar to the D shape version. But, even I can't do as... I can't help myself. Can't help myself. I'm sounding like an old man. I'm an old man. Okay, but that's kind of a cool sound. One trick that a piano player, damn it, taught me was to capo really high, like this, and then take a really thin pick. Seriously, this is a keyboard player who told me this trick. And then play by the bridge. So already, those are 3 things keyboard players shouldn't know. Right? He shouldn't know about a capo. He shouldn't know about picks, and he shouldn't know about the bridge. And if you can get kind of an auto harp sound. Okay, so I'm going to play the same song, right? Let's see what we get. She drives me crazy, like no one else. She drives me crazy, and I can't help myself. It's kind of a cool sound. So that's a neat trick, and that's, again, we're toying with timbre, the tone or the flavor of the chord progression by changing the capo position. And you're going to have to learn the shapes in all those chords, but here's the key. If you can take things down to that numerical numbering system and know that song, She Drives Me Crazy, is 1, 4, 6, 5, you can play it in any key if you know all of the keys or at least start with the caged method keys, the C. So in the key of C, 1-4-6-5 would be C, F, A minor to G. And then you spell out the word cage. We have the key of A, the A shape, using A shapes, it would be A, and then D, and then F sharp minor, and then E, that kind of thing. And so you gotta learn the keys. I'm singing, oh gosh, I know. I don't know why. Why am I singing today? But the key of D gives you all sorts of different. I feel like the capo's too loose. I'm going to go back to the page. I give you a link for the page if you want to buy it. Like I said, I just like the workmanship on this. Let's see what they go for on Amazon. Whoops, that's not what I want. Where are y'all? Sorry, I got to get you back here. Boom. All right. I thought we had a few people here. But it's 17 now. Got up to 20. It felt like there's a lot of new. I guess everyone who's on is commenting, which is nice. It's nice to see everybody up here. And I apologize. I'm not looking at the comments. Let's see. Tell them I'm practicing E minor, G, and A minor pentatonic scale. Oh, good. E major pentatonic scale, E minor pentatonic scale, G major. Yeah, those are great. And the pentatonic scales are a great place to start because they generally are two. Yeah, I wish. Let's see. Wendy thinks, yeah, I'm 42. I'm 62 today. All right, so let me go to the Amazon page capo and see what they go for. I think they're $30. Oh no, they're 35. Let's see. This one's slightly different. They're beautiful capos, though. I mean, yeah, they have some. They got a weird one that made for wider necks. See, they compensated for that, but that one's $70. They have a whole bunch of them. Man, I didn't realize how many different versions they have. They have one that's $230. Professional game. Yeah, I'd be afraid I'd lose it. I mean, I have to admit, though, my expensive picks I never lose. But here's a base, pretty common one. And this even has that clear rubber kind of plastic covering thing, which totally reminds me of the 60s and 70s. So this link does generate a revenue to me. So if you, and not if you just click on it, but if you buy something from, and if you do all your Amazon shopping, if you click on that link and then do more shopping at Amazon, like you got a list and you go ahead and just do it, I get up to like 5% of it. It's pretty cool. I think I got a check last month from Amazon. It goes right to my checking account. I got $35 or something. The most I've ever gotten was like $300. Somebody went through and bought like a whole PA system through Amazon, which I don't necessarily recommend, but I was like grateful for the $300, I have to say. Can we all virtually sing happy birthday? Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Tom. Happy birthday to me. Does that work? Yeah, so here's the E chord. So the D shape is the E chord. Let's just go up and do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chords. Okay? If you can know the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 6 chord in all the keys, or at least in the caged keys, the key, that would be the key of C, the key of A, the key of G, the key of E, the key of D. It's going to really be helpful for transposing and really helpful for writing, and really helpful for figuring out songs. Because I've said this before, when you look at all the major and minor chords, if we were to look at all the possible major and minor chords in a song, in a key, on the guitar and music in general, we have E major, E minor, F major, F minor, F sharp major, F sharp minor, G major, G minor. Okay, if we add them all up, it's 24 chords. But the likelihood that any song uses 24 chords is slim to none, and unless we're talking about jazz chords. Uh-oh, streaming buffering. That was weird. Okay, we seem good. Thank you, bro. Hey, Gary. Good morning. But most songs use the one chord are in one key. They use the 1 chord and the 4 chord and the 5 chord and probably the 6 chord, and they might use the 2 chord and they maybe use the 3 chord. So in that order, that's the order of commonality of chords across all songs as, calculated by computers. So as analyzed, they dropped every song in there. Here's the most common chord is the 1 chord. Most songs have a 1 chord. Not all songs have the 1 chord in it, by the way. I can't think of one offhand, but I know there are some that don't. And then, so let's look at the 1, 6, 4. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the key of using D shapes, but we're in the key of E. So we're going to learn the names as they really are. So this is the 1 chord, the E chord. Okay, it's a D shape, but it's an E chord. Then you play an E minor shape, and that's F sharp minor. So I'm just playing open, 2, 2, open, 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 and that's F sharp minor. And if I want to make it F sharp minor 7, like that, or add the pinky and make it a minor 7, that all those suffixes carry over. You don't have to relearn all the suffixes. Like if you know how to make an E minor 2 chord, you don't have to relearn it here. You just play the E minor 2 chord, it's still an F sharp minor 2 chord. Or if I want to do like an E minor 9th, F sharp minor 9th, it's the same shape. So all the stuff after the letter is all that can all move up and stay the same. You don't have to reanalyze that. Okay, so the 3 chord is F sharp minor. And that's basically second fret. I'm sorry, G sharp minor. Did I say F sharp minor? Dang it. It's F sharp minor shape. It feels like an F sharp minor, but it's really G sharp minor. And one nice thing about this is the capo is pushing the strings down to fret level, so you don't have to push down as hard as you might if you didn't have the capo on. Okay, so this G sharp minor is moderately easier than this G sharp minor. Okay, it's the exact same G sharp minor, but the difference is I have, when I'm capo at the 2nd fret, the capo is helping me push down the strings. So instead of being at nut height, they're at fret height, and it's a little bit lower, a little bit easier to play. Okay, now the 4 chord in the key of E is A. Here's how you play an A chord. It looks like a G shape. It is a G shape, but it's an A chord. So all the licks you can do over G work. In fact, a lot of bluegrass songs are in A. Well, they don't play A shapes. They capo at the 2nd fret, and they just stay in the key of G. They don't have to relearn any of their licks at all. They just capo up 2 frets, and they're in key of A. And A is a little bit of a brighter, almost happier key than G for some reason. I don't understand how all that works. Maybe vibrations. It may be the shortness of you're shortening the neck, and it creates a brighter tone, of course. But there's something about the key of A versus the key of G. G's maybe a little bit more of a serious key, and A is a little bit more of a less serious key. Okay, so so far we have the 1 chord E, the 2 chord F sharp minor, the 3 chord G sharp minor, which in a songwriting context is kind of rare. Then we have the A, which is a G shape, and then we have 2 more. We have the 5 chord, which is the B. Excuse me, and that's the A shape, and boy, that's a lot easier than playing a bar chord B. And there's B2, here's B major 7, here's B7, okay, here's B minor. All those suffixes carry over, so you don't really have to learn any new suffixes, just the first thing. Joseph, I don't know. I haven't tried to sign into Discord. I have yet to do that. Now the Shub Capo, I can put a link for that too. Those are definitely cheaper. Everybody just raised all the prices. Yeah, Shub, this one's great. 19 bucks. I think it's on sale, so that's kind of cool. Oh, don't forget tomorrow is oh, weird. Oh no, I don't. Okay, see, I clicked the wrong button. Tomorrow and the next day are what are they called? Amazon days or whatever. So they have all sorts of specials. So if you typically do a lot of shopping on Amazon on those days, start with that link, save that, click on that link, and then just stay there. Leave it open until tomorrow, and then you if you go bat blank crazy at Amazon during you would think there would be a big giant ad for it. I don't know. Okay, on their homepage, but yeah, they then you can do all your shopping, and I get a PC. Prime, thank you, Bob Schumann. Prime days are tomorrow and the next day. So if you're really into that. Okay, so the 5 chord is there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Here, There, and Everywhere is by Paul McCartney and Beatles is just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of a good way to learn the numbering system is to start to break songs down into that numbering system. You could do that. You could just take all of your sheet music that you have where you have all your lyric and chord things, or just and start writing in the numbers. And it's really easy. Once you know that the D is the 1, then you can go all the D's and write 1, and then you can go to all, you figure out that the G chord is the 4 chord, then you can go all the G's and write a little 4 over it. And then that way you can ignore the DG, you can just start playing numbers, and that way you can transpose the song on the fly oftentimes. So, and also I think it's really good for your ear to start thinking of breaking the chord progressions down into numbers, because then you start to go, oh, well, that's the 50. Oh, that's the 50s thing. Or, if you think of a 6, 4, 5, 1 progression or 1, 5 progression might have a whole nother connotation. You might go, oh yeah, that's really 90s. I always think of that as kind of a 90s progression. And then we left off at A, which is the 5 chord, and then the last chord, the B minor shape, that's going to be C sharp minor in the key of E. That is the 6 chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, play those with me. D shape, and that's an E. Play the E minor shape, and that's F sharp minor. Okay, then G sharp minor. Then the G shape is A, the A shape is B, and then the B minor shape is C sharp minor. All right, and then back to E. Okay, so play E. The second most common chord is the 4 chord, so play A, and play E again. And play A again. You're starting to see that as an E and A and not a D and G. Okay. Play the A again. Okay, now play the B chord, which looks like the A chord. That's B. And play E. Play B. Play E. I'm trying to drill these into your head. This is how you do it. Go back and forth, and you just start thinking of what they really, really are, not what they look like. And actually, if you look at your fretboard, again, like I said, if you played this on the guitar where you barred here, you wouldn't think of that as an A chord. You might think of it as an A form chord, but it's a B chord. And I look at my fretboard and I don't see, that doesn't even look like an A chord to me. It feels like an A chord, that's different, okay? But it looks like a B chord to me because I I see where I am on the fretboard. Okay, so play E. Okay, now here's a cool thing. Sometimes in the key of E, you have a D chord, and that would be the C shape. Right? Sometimes you want that kind of bluesy sound. And so that would be D. So you can still go to D when we're capoed up here. It's just going to be a C shape. But I don't want to confuse you too much. We're concentrating on the chords that are in Hey Gamer Moments. Yeah, and tab is a great way to be honest. Tab is the best way to find out where they played it on the fretboard. And tab exists for guitar players, and there is no tab for other instruments, just fretted instruments. Like you can get tab for bass, you can get tab for mandolin, banjo, things like that. But piano, there's no such thing as tab for piano. Violin players don't typically ever look at tab, or woodwind players, they don't have tab. They read music. But there's a reason for tab on guitars, because if we look at this, all plays into everything, you know, the capoing and the modulating and the transposing and all that stuff. If we look at this E note, the top E string, I can play that note here, I can play it here, I can play it here, I can play it here. If I had a 12th fret, I could play it there. If I had 24 frets, sorry. So literally, if I had 24 fret guitar, I could play that same note in 6 different places. So when you hear a guitar player on a record playing an E note, it's like, well, which one? And that's where tab comes in handy, because tab usually is done by someone who can tell the difference or can hear where they are in a position. Like, for example, if he's hitting the B string, well, he's not doing it. You can tell that it's all on one string. And so that's where tab kind of comes in real handy. It tells you, oh, okay, which E do I need to play? Because, and it's the beauty of the instrument though too, when you're wanting to play an E chord in a song or in a solo or something like that, you got your choice of so many different sounds. They all sound very different. I mean, especially like the difference between the sound of that E and the sound of that E is huge. And so when you're writing a solo, when you're composing music, whatever, you're allowed to take the timbre into consideration. Piano has timbres because they have the pedal where the damper pedal, and it kind of softens, so they can play a little softer, but it affects every note. And so I can create where I'm playing 3 E's and they all have different timbres. Okay, and I don't generally recommend reading music. I recommend understanding music theory. I don't necessarily recommend learning how to read music. I do if you want to study classical guitar, or if you want to study jazz, then music comes in handy, because everyone you play with will know how to read music for the most part. I mean, there's some great jazz musicians that never learned how to read music. But there's a lot of stuff going on harmonically and melodically and theoretically in jazz and also classical, where you can kind of decode it. It makes a lot more sense if you're looking at the music of it than if you're looking at the tab of it. Looking at tab of jazz phrases almost makes 0 sense. But looking at the music of it, you go, oh, wow, oh, I see what he did there. He flatted the 9 and sharped the 9. But it's that only shows up as like that only shows up as numbers on a fretboard, and you don't know that this is a sharp 9, this is a flat 9 in the key, of a G thing. But here we're going to C. So if you want to get into jazz or classical, I recommend reading music. And if you want to be a session musician, I really recommend music. And there are several session musicians, Tim Pierce is one, that can't read music. And therefore there's a certain segment of gigs that he'll never get called for. So by being able to read music, you're going to eliminate competition. There's sessions, and not only I can read music, not only guitar but every instrument that I play. I've been working on a database, a Google Doc from all my composers, where I'm putting all the instruments that I play, where they're from, the music range, which is really valuable for them. And then I'm putting sound examples, and I'm doing two versions for most instruments. I'm doing kind of an idiomatic sound example, which is a means, what in the style of the instrument, how it's typically played, what does it sound like? And that way they can kind of get a sense of it. Or if they're looking for something very ethnic, like an oud from Turkey, I can play oud that makes it sound like like a Middle Eastern phrase. But I can also do something. I do a separate audio on there that's what I call cinematic. So it might be more like eerie, or it might be kind of happy. It may be very different than the idiomatic version. It might be just to give the composer a vision of how it could be potentially used outside of its idiomatic use. I see somebody, Gamer Moments, asked me, how did I learn to play guitar? I started with lessons. At age of 9, I started taking guitar lessons. I got a guitar for my 9th birthday. So let's see, that was 53 years ago. So 53 years ago, I got a guitar on this day. And then I started taking lessons, and it wasn't a lot of fun. I was doing Alfred's basic guitar methods. I actually started out learning to read music, and it was a little tedious, I have to admit. And that's the other thing I want to say about reading music. If you're not going to use it, you're probably going to lose it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to use it professionally. Before I was getting session work where I was needing to read music, I was doing sight reading groups where I would get together with other musicians, and we would set a metronome going, and we'd all be looking at the same book, and we'd try to keep up. And that was great, because there's a whole lot of fear of making a complete fool of yourself. And that will really help you get better fast on something. That's why I always say, if you're really wanting to excel, get better at guitar, take a gig you're not qualified for, whether it be an open mic thing or whatever. And because of everyone's natural fear of being embarrassed, you'll put the work in as best you can to try to mitigate that. But yeah, the reason I bring up all these weird instruments is because I can pick up an oud and I can read on. I can pick up a Thai pin or a balalaika. You can see the very corner of that triangle instrument there. I've got a Greek bouzouki. I can right there, that thing that looks like a frying pan. That's a Arabic kumbis. I can sight read on all of those instruments. And so many of the very traditional, the musicians that are 1,000 times better than me at those traditional instruments, or those ethnic instruments, they can't read music at all. So, and they probably can't play in time. Like, they're used to time being kind of this free-floating thing, which isn't really allowed when you're playing on a score where it's scored to picture. And they can't play to a click. A click, like, if they hear a click in their ear, they'll be like, whoa, what's going on? So that's part of the reason why, I add these instruments, because I just got a call today from someone that needs for some oud for a Dubai, an ad for Dubai. And so that is, and the main reason is I was highly recommended by someone that he respected, which is how you really get gigs. He could use someone who's a legitimate oud player, but the problem is they might not be able to read his music. They'd have to learn it, and it might take longer and cost more money. And I can kind of play it pretty easy. So yeah, Joseph, yeah, that's right. Anyway, But how did I learn play guitar? It was starting lessons, and then I think I took lessons that fall of what would have been 1970, and then I took all the way. I did it at the same time I was going to school. Did one lesson, 1.5 hour lesson a week. Some old guy, probably younger than me, was teaching me, and I remember he wore a beret. He had a goatee. He was kind of like, it was 1970, but he looked like he was a character out of like 1958. Kind of like a Peter, Paul, and Mary kind of vibe, and that was what he was into. And so, and that's great. I have no idea. I'm sure he's long gone. But my mom mercifully allowed me to take summers off because I wasn't practicing. And then, but I kept taking lessons. My mom made me keep taking lessons. And then I remember I started to write music. I think we're all innately creative. I think we're made in the image of God, and God is obviously very creative. If you look at a leaf, or you look at a possum, or you look at all the birds and all the insects and all that stuff, it's like incredibly creative. And we're in that image. We have that same thing, that same spark in us. And so what the guitar did was that it kind of like went, wait, I can make stuff up. I can play stuff that is not. I think it's already up there. I think I put Bruce. I put the capo chart up there as a PDF. I can check though, but let me look. Maybe I didn't hit send. I'll check the Discord right now. Make sure it's it, because I have the PDF sitting around somewhere. Let's see. But yeah, I played a song for my dad that I wrote, and I wrote the music out. Again, there was no tab in 1970 when I was learning to play guitar. The early tab is kind of weird looking. It's very, yeah. Where's my capo? It's there as a PDF. I also put like a roadmap for Landslide. Anyway, okay, so yeah, I see it there. And I need to get this window up. Okay. So, we're getting some people showing. So then, so that was, for me, that was a huge thing when I played this little song, and it was something like. Something like that. It was some pretty little thing using D shapes. I didn't have a capo at the time. I was 13 years old, and every boy wants their father. They want their affirmation from their father, and not getting it causes lots of problems. And there's lots of you that never had a father or didn't have a father. He died when you were very young, and it affects you for the rest of your life. And I was very fortunate to have a father that was really into music, really into music. He played drums in college, loved jazz, and calypso music, Caribbean music. So he introduced me to a lot of things like that. My mom was really into, believe it or not, R&B and soul, and also she loved Gladys Knight, and she loved classical music. She played classical music. She played piano. Her mother, my grandmother, was a piano teacher. But when my dad was like, wait, you wrote that song? And I said, yep. And he goes, yeah. And you wrote those notes on that paper. And I remember like making the notes were like the staff was pretty big. It was one of those books, and the notes were pretty big. It was pretty funny. I don't think I have it. It'd be so cool if I could find it. I was in Indiana, so it was the last place I lived before I moved to California, and I did bring a lot of that stuff with me. So I may have it. I'll have to look and see if I can find it. That would be amazing. I could post it on YouTube, but that affirmation from my father and that realization that I was doing something that someone else thought was cool, was like impressed by, that's the moment I was like, okay, I really like guitar now. Up until then, it was a bit of a chore, and like I said, I had a teacher that was showing me how to read music, and then we moved, and I got another teacher who was kind of just keeping up on the same thing, and then we moved again. So we moved like 3 times in the first 3 years of me playing guitar. I remember my first lessons were in Potomac, Maryland, and then almost immediately we moved to Wallingford, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philly, and I took lessons there in Media or Westchester. I can't remember. It was something like, I think it was Media, Pennsylvania, at a little guitar store. I think I tried to find that store on Google Maps recently, um, and then we moved to Indianapolis, and I started taking lessons at Phelan's music store in Carmel, Indiana, and I took lessons there all the way through high school. And then after I graduated from high school, they hired me as a teacher, and I started teaching 1 day a week. And then by the time I moved to California 3 years later, I was teaching 5 days a week. I was teaching 20 hours a week. I had like 40 students. It was a lot, and it was great. It allowed me to save up money. But getting good at anything is a combination, is so much about will and tenacity, and just trying to figure things out. For me, even though you have a teacher to kind of hold your hand, that happens for like 30 minutes a week. And I had students that it was crazy. I'd teach them something, and then they probably had it down by the end of the lesson. And I'm like, dang it, now I got to give you something to work on for the rest of the week. I had students that were so fast, and I was one of those kids. That's kind of why they offered me the teaching position at the store, because I'd gone through all the teachers at the store. I'd learned everything they could teach me. It was pretty funny. So, well, thank you, Bruce, for doing that. That's no small task. What was Gamer asking? Oh, blues music. Yeah, no, and I'm not a great blues player, but we did talk about blues music and kind of conceptually and how to get started on it. The best way to, I think, really get good at blues is to listen to a lot of blues, pick out like 5 or 10 blues players that you really like, and start to learn their licks. I mean, you'd be surprised how much utility that, B.B. King got out of one scale. He would do this, what I call the happy pentatonic scale, happy blues scale, and oh yeah, yeah, it does sound like Dear Prudence, Bob. That little tune, yeah, it's true. It was very much that. It was, and I don't remember if it was like that. It could have been something like that. That's sad, Joseph. You just bummed me out on my birthday. Thanks, man. Just kidding. It takes a bit to bum me out, obviously. Okay, so we're back to capoing at the 2nd fret. And like I said, I would pick a fret. I would use this chart here. Boom, I'm going to make it really big so you can't see me. Supposedly. There we go. I would pick, a key that, like the key of F is a common key. The key of B flat is a very common key. Those both can be done at the 3rd fret. That almost be one of the first places. I did a video on capoing at the 3rd fret. I can't remember where else I did it. Let me look up those videos, because I probably could do a follow-up to those. I don't remember how much work was involved in that. I'll tell you that mandolin video, if you watch that mandolin video, you can see how much work it took. Oh my gosh. I had so many diagrams to create for that thing. I really should have broken it down into sections. Like, okay, I'm going to do a video here on chords on mandolin, bar chords on mandolin. I probably should have done it that way. I would have had a lot more views, I think. Nobody wants to invest 30 minutes into watching a video, but I'm learning. You'd think I would learn that lesson, but I will try to learn that in the future. Let's see. So, content. If I capoing. Okay. So, I did the 4th fret, 3rd fret, and 1st fret. So yeah, I could probably do the 2nd fret. That would be a really good fret to do and to learn all the chords there. But right now, for our purposes today, we're at the 2nd fret. All right. So I want to continue quizzing you on some of these chords. Okay. So again, just to remember, the 1 chord is E, F sharp minor. G sharp minor is the 3 chord. 4 chord is A. 5 chord is B, and the 6th chord is C sharp minor. Hey, Martin. Oh, I'm glad. Well, good. Yeah, mandolin is such a fun. I love playing mandolin. I could play mandolin all day long. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I worked on Call of Duty and Modern Warfare 2, and I played mandolin for 2 days on that thing. It was all mandolin. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. Yeah, the tuning. Yeah, E A D G. But now we're F sharp, B, E, A, C sharp, and F sharp. And one of the things I do recommend, I have my, what's the most, somebody said, what's the most important thing I should learn? Well, on acoustic guitar, I always think, oh, you got to have a lot of strumming grooves, a lot of different. You got to have a lot of different strumming grooves just so that all your songs don't sound alike. If you're an electric player, I would say one of the most important things, or the first thing, or one of the things you should work towards having is a knowledge of the entire fretboard. You should know every note on the fretboard, because that way, like I said, remember I said those E's all have different timbres. That opens up a whole new world if you know all the E's on your fretboard. If you know all the F's, and that's usually how I teach it. It's like, find all the E's. Okay, now find all the F's. Okay, now find all the B's. Okay, now, randomize it. Find all the C sharps, so on and so forth. Okay. So we're capo to the 2nd fret. And again, we're talking about the 1 chord, the 6 chord, or the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, and the 6 chord. Again, the most common is the 1. So that's E. And then we have A, and B is the next most common. And then the C sharp minor would be the next most common. And then the F sharp minor would be the next most common. Sorry, I got a eyelash or something. Okay. Don't think I got it. Okay. So, okay, so I'm going to quiz you a little bit. Play. I'm trying to decide if I want to do E chord or 1 chord. So play the E chord. All right, so if you played this, you're right. Okay, play the A chord. All right. Play F sharp minor. Ooh, I'm trying to mess you up. Here it is, E minor, shake like that. Okay. Play C sharp minor. C sharp minor, it's right here. Okay, play the A chord. This is a trick. You thought I was going to say a different chord. Say, okay. All right, play the E chord. All right. Play the B chord. B. Where's B? B, 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 B. That's the 5 chord. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. There's B. Okay. Play C sharp minor again. Right there on top of B. Okay, play the A chord. Play the E chord. Are you starting to see them for what they are? Okay, here's the one we haven't done yet. The 3 chord is G sharp minor. Okay, so we're in a key of E. I want you to play the 1 chord. 1 is E. Okay, play the 4 chord. That's right. All right, play the 5 chord. All right. All right, the 6th chord, which is a minor chord, B, C sharp minor. Play the 2 chord, which is minor, which is F sharp minor. Okay, so again, let's play the 1, E. Play the 2 minor, E, F sharp minor. Play G sharp minor, 3 chord. Play the 4 chord, A. Play the 5 chord. All right, now, again, those are the, and then the C sharp minor, sorry, the 6th chord. Those are the 6 most common chords. Remember when I started a thought and didn't finish it like an hour ago? Whereas there are 24 potential major and minor keys or chords, and this is true. And we could play all 24 of them easily for the most part, especially using a bar chord. On the piano, you can learn them all. You should. If you're going to learn to play piano, you need to know all 24 chords, major and minor. But boy, that's a big palette to start with when you're trying to figure out a song. Well, if you happen to be working on a song and you're trying to figure out, see, licks, licks, you can kind of go one note at a time and kind of figure out. You can kind of go, oh, okay, it's that. You can kind of go one note at a time. Single note stuff, unless it's super fast, is easier to figure out than harmony or chords. However, the opposite is ultimately true when you realize that there's a finite number of chords that could be. So if we're in the key of E and the song's in the key of E and you're trying to figure it out, chances are most of the chords are going to fall in one of those 6 chords. Sorry, you can't see my other hand. So that eliminates 75% of the potential chords. So when you hear a chord and you're like, okay, what is that? And you go, no, it's not the B chord. Oh, it's the A chord. Okay. So you just, okay, well, that's A. All right. What's the next chord of the song? No. Oh, it's E. Okay. You can try all those chords until you slowly figure it out. And, even in that, if you're on A, and we're in the key of E, you really only have, and the chord changes and we're still in the same key, you only have 5 chords to choose from now, because you can eliminate A because it changes. It doesn't sound like an A chord. They didn't play A, they played A something else, right? And so so you can start to go, oh, A, okay, then it wasn't A and it's not E. So now you can eliminate, the next chord is not, you're pretty sure it's not A, and it's not E because you're sitting on E. So now you can limit it down to 4 chords. And you can even pretty much get rid of the 3 chord, the G sharp minor, because that's pretty unlikely. And if it happens in a song, you'll probably be like, oh, that's a weird chord. What is that? And you might try the 3 chord and go. So this is a phenomenal way to really to pare down all the possible chords something could be when you're trying to do the very, very difficult thing of figuring out chords of a song you don't know. It's a difficult thing. It's one of those most challenging things. But once you start to realize, oh, I can eliminate 75% of the chords and even potentially more. Now, again, the song may be end on an E, but it may not. It may be it may not technically be an E major. It might be an E Phrygian or E mixolydian in that case, and because it goes to a D chord and to the A chord and then to the E chord. And I'm using the names, not what they look like, but what they are. Okay, that's actually an E chord. And again, the reason I'm capoing 2nd fret to play an E is to get a different timbre, a different sound. I could use a big, it's just such a big sound, and sometimes you don't want your song to have a big sound on that one chord, on the chord that you're spending the most time on. Okay, the other thing that knowing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 thing, and knowing those chords in any key, or in this case in the key of E, the other thing is for songwriting. So you kind of it gives you, and I always say songwriting is like when you're trying to figure out something, theory comes in real handy. When you're trying to write something, theory comes in handy too, but there are times when you have to just ignore theory, because you might go, well, oh, that chord's not in the key, so I can't use it. No, you're the writer. You can do whatever you want to do. And let someone else come along and analyze why that worked so well after the fact. They'll go, well, Joseph, Joseph used that, he used a 1-4-5 progression, but then he went to a 1-4 flat 7. And the reason it worked so well is because it set up this expectation that was met with a lyrical change on the flip on a, and they'll come back. You write what you hear. If you try something and it's like, that's what I'm hearing, that's what works for me, then there are no rules. All right. But if you're trying to figure out someone else's song, most people don't tend to break a lot of rules when they write music. So songs tend to be really stick to the 1-6-4-5 thing, particularly in pop or in anything. Beatles can be considered pop or classic rock, or rock or blues is almost all 1-4-5 progressions. So you really don't even have to worry about the minor chords. So yeah, this is one of those things where starting to develop, even though you may be a tab reader, starting to develop some knowledge of theory and chord harmony, which goes kind of hand in hand with that, comes in super handy. And like I've talked about this before in our live stream, but a lot of times, like when I talk about it, when I talked about it 2 years ago or whatever, you didn't understand it. After 2 years of listening to me, now you're like, oh wait, now that's starting to make sense to me. Okay, I kind of get it. So, every time I explain something again for another time, another light bulb comes on. Yeah, exactly, Gary. Meter, rhythm. Meter is one of those things where you can paint yourself into a corner. Okay, but here's an example of meter. So let's say, for example, Joseph is writing a song. He's going. Now, most songs are in 4/4. All pop songs are in 4/4 for the most part. But that what I just played was in 5/4. I played 2 beats of E, 2 beats of A, and then I went to 1 beat of D. It's kind of this bum, and the drummers can play over that. They can figure out a good part. They're not all going to make it sound like Take 5. Boo-da, boo-da, bum, bum, boo-da, boo-da, bum, bum, boo-da, boo-da, bum, bum. But that might feel really good to you. Let's see. Drives me crazy. That's hard. I'm trying to change it. Drives me. I can play Drives Me Crazy in 6/8. Would that be like Drives me crazy. And that's a trick you can use to change, to do a new arrangement of a song. You can totally change the meter and make it, to make it your own. And so, yeah. But that drives me crazy, that push, boom, boom, right? It's like 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Well, if you get rid of beat 4, then that push is halfway between 1 and 3. So you're like this 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And now you're basically playing in 3/4, boom, but you're subdividing it to make it feel like 6/8, and boom, 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 like that. So it's fun. When's lesson 1000? Oh my gosh, where are we? 310. Well, I don't know. If I do one a week, you're looking at that would be. Let's see. That would be about 12 years from now. Don't know if I'll make it. I mean, I hope I'll live to 74, but never know. Oh, thanks, Bob. Am I missing any questions? I can stop. We've talked enough about the capoing second fret, but we're going to continue on that. And again, quiz yourself on these. You can even take little pieces of paper or note cards or whatever and write the 6 chords down. E, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, B, C sharp minor. write those 6 chords down on separate pieces of paper, mix them all up, flip them over, randomly pick one and try to find it. Some of you are probably smart enough to create a random chord generator in software or something like that. So, and there's probably random chord generators, but they probably, yeah, there might be something on the web. Let me see if there's, because you might be able to affect, yeah. Yeah, you can definitely okay, so there's definitely one. Here's chord progression generator. Come. Looks like you can really limit. I mean, make it simple or more complex. Looks like key. So if I go key of E, major, yeah, sure. Generate new progression. Yep, and then chord progression generator. It's doing the same one. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is actually kind of works. It's playing them, but you don't have to listen to that. But it's good for your ear. Yeah, it's good for your ear too. You can totally test your ear out on that. Thank you. So yeah, it's not very complex, but that's actually a good thing. Okay, how do where's the stop button? Oh, pause. Okay, good. Yeah, so that actually kind of works. Kind of cool. Oh, dang. Burglary is the worst. You feel so violated. Okay, so Tom, I was told once never to adjust the tuning on a guitar with the capo on, but my guitar goes out of tune. No, you can totally adjust it. No, I mean, because there's that pressure on the, you might be digging up the frets a little bit, but I mean, what you might not want to do is with the capo on, go to like an open D tuning, like change all, like go from standard to a crazy open tuning. I would take the capo off to do that. But no, the capo, you always have to capo. Yeah, always generally. That's part of the reason I like the shove, because you can, if you use like some of the capos, like the Kaiser, is really strong and it pushes down and it moves things sharp. But with the Kaiser, you can kind of, I'm sorry, with the shove, you can adjust the tension so it's just tight enough. You have to have it tight enough so that nothing buzzes or is dead, but not so tight that it bends things sharp. But yeah, I don't really have a problem fine tuning once I've put the capo on. That's not, it might be a little hard on the tuners, like they have to work a little harder because they're fighting the capo. The capo's trying to keep the strings in this position, and the tuner's trying to stretch the string or loosen the string. Sometimes if your capo's too tight and you loosen it, it may not do anything because the capo's doing such a good job of holding the string down. It's not allowing the string to go this way. But you can always tighten the string, and usually that's, again, you want to try to find the right tension. Usually, if you're adjusting your tuning after you put a capo on, it's usually to lower a little bit because the capo will tend to push things a little bit sharp. But yeah. Is it bad for the guitar? Yeah, maybe. I don't really care. That may be very, like, elitist of me, because I've told this story before, but I used to, when I was teaching clinics for Maranatha Music, and Taylor was one of the sponsors, they gave me my Taylor 814, and I would clip my Kaiser on the headstock, and some guy in the front row was like, it's really bad for the wood to have that capo clipped on the headstock. It's really bad for the finish, and it's bad for and I'm like, I've never seen a guitar ruined by a capo. But maybe that has happened. But I told the guy, I said, I don't care. I said it's a tool, and it's a way. And besides, if my guitar gets all dinged up, I mean seriously, who are you going to respect more? A guy with a shiny sword with no dings and no blood on it, or the guy that pulls his sword out and it's all dinged up and it's covered in blood? Yeah, I'm going to be afraid of the guy with the bloody sword, not the guy with the clean guitar that's pristine, and he takes it out of the case and he dusts it off and he puts it on his lap and he's like afraid to touch it and he puts a blanket over it and he's like, okay, I don't want to scratch this thing. It's like, yeah, scratch it. I have a friend that bought a D45, a Martin D45, and I almost intentionally strummed in a manner that below the pickguard, he got a hole there, just like Willie Nelson. Put a hole in his really nice Martin guitar, because that's the way he strummed it. He was wanting to dig a hole in that guitar, I think. And I've never done that. I've never played a guitar so much or so hard that I actually put a hole in it. I have a lot of fretboards, particularly maple fretboards that I wish would be worn down more. I just don't play. I have too many guitars. But if I ruined a guitar, because of a capo or because of strumming or whatever, here's the elitist part of it. I would buy another one. And that's where not everybody can say that, right? And I understand that. This is my job. If you're a mechanic and somebody says, oh, why are you ratcheting so hard on that wrench? And it's like, because I want to tighten the bolt so that it doesn't come off when the car is driving. Yeah, well, that's really hard on the tool. He's going to be like, I don't care. I got a guy who comes here every week and he's off, brings his truck and I can buy new tools every week. It's the same thing. For me, these instruments are tools, and I use them and sometimes abuse them, but it's always done in love and in the spirit of making music. So yeah, I mean, it's one thing. I mean, if I owned one of if I owned Paul McCartney's Beatle bass, would I take it out on a road and beat it up and everything? And no, I don't know. I wouldn't own Paul McCartney's Beatle bass. If someone gave it to me, if Paul McCartney gave me his Beatle bass, I'm like, Paul, first off, thank you so much, and happy birthday to me. But shouldn't this be in a museum? It's priceless, and eventually all that stuff is going to be in a museum. A lot of it already is. I think it's interesting, when like David Gilmour auctions off his guitars, and Jim Irsay, who buys a lot of these guitars, he's like a big collector of those. He takes them around the country and he lets people play them. I think that's pretty darn cool. It's pretty darn cool. I mean, they were created, and the honest truth about it is anyone going to care about Gilmour's Strat in 100 years? I mean, we'll be listening to Pink Floyd in 100 years, but no one alive in 100 years will have ever had any real experience with Pink Floyd. No one will have ever seen them live. No one will have ever bought their record when they first came out or anything like that. So it's going to be a kind of a different thing. It's kind of like, oh, well, this is Steve Bashinkas's violin. Who's that? Oh, he was the greatest violinist of 1850 in Austria. I'm like, yeah, I don't know who Steve Bashinkas is. The most unlikely name for an Austrian violin player, but yeah. So yeah, these are tools, and they should get used and played, and they should all be in their cases in the closet in a humid. I should be keeping track of the humidity. I mean, that would be a problem. I did have a friend that had some I think a couple really nice Taylors and like a really nice Les Paul, not vintage or anything, obviously not vintage Taylor, but not a vintage Les Paul, and a Strat, and he was a worship leader at his church, and the office was closed for a week in Colorado or something like that, and somebody had left a window open, and the heater was on nonstop, like in his office. And he got in his office, and it was like 110 degrees in his office or something like that. And all four guitars were completely ruined. They're worthless. They bent all out of shape. They all got warped. I mean, it was a huge bummer. Of course, he had insurance, and he got them all again, but he got the guitars replaced. But yeah, I mean, that would be awful if all of my instruments, got damaged from humidity or from dryness or something like that. I do have a humidifier. It's not on right now. But there are times in the summer where I turn on that humidifier because I'm like, okay, especially I'm not in here. Because if I'm working, it makes a noise, and I can't really be recording acoustic while it's going, so. Oh, Charlie B, no worries. Good to see you. Yeah, and I get the guitar being your baby, especially. Thank you, Joseph. Oh, God bless you, Joseph. Happy birthday to me. I get a free Starbucks. I haven't used it yet because normally I just get the cheapest thing. The cheapest venti on their menu is a venti coffee. It's $3.25. That's what I get every morning. So I'll probably later this afternoon I'll go over there and get some big giant frappuccino thing that's gonna sugar crash me. But I'll make sure that there's a shot in there or something. What's a good beginner chord? I'm going to take the capo off, so we're going to be in open position. You could start out with like E minor is a really good beginner chord. So it's open 2, 2, open, open, open. I'm just put my second and third finger on there. Heck, an even easier chord is E minor 7. Just your second finger on the second fret of the 5th string. Pretty easy chord. If you move those two fingers down, you got A2. Top 5 strings. Open, nothing on the bottom, 0 or X, and then open 2, 2, open, open. Practice changing those two like that. Trying to get a chord to sound good. And I talked about this in the past, but trying to get a chord to sound good takes some time, especially certain chords that have fingers over other strings like C. Is a tough chord for a lot of people because your second finger and your first finger tend to mute the strings below them. But once you kind of figure out the thumb position, your elbow is a big play. If you put your elbow too far out or too far in, you're going to create problems. You really want the ergonomic thing to be on the right. You may need to sit more classical, like with your left foot up on a box or something like that, so you can play more like this, and it's maybe more ergonomically pleasing to your arm. Then the harder part is changing chords, and once you start getting that down, you kind of just have to go practice going from C to E minor. It's back and forth, 1 strum each. Don't do 10 strums each. You're wasting time. What you're practicing, make sure you focus on the thing you're practicing. Like, for example, if there's a classical guitar piece you're working on, there's the Villalobos piece that, I could get kind of down. Right? And I'm like, okay. And then there's this one section, it's like, that's it. That's it. Like that. But I could play the whole piece except that one section, and it was like, well, and I'd get to that section and I'd mess it up every time. I'm like, no, just work that section. And they say, if you can do it slow, you can do it fast. Because it's a lot faster than that, but something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something to that thing. And so what I did was I looped that one section and played it 1,000 times until it was actually, I had it down better than the rest of the piece. And so when I got to that part, I see, because here's what happens when you have a part coming in, especially in a classical piece. Remember, when you're playing classical guitar, it's usually just you and the audience. That's why I don't do this, because it's just like, it's too stressful. It takes years off your life. I mean, I just don't want to be that stressed in life. But it's like, if you've got a section you mess up, you tend to, oh man, I mess this up 4% of the time, or 7% of the time, or 50%. You'd never take a piece out that you mess up 50% of the time. But you might take a piece out that you're like, okay, I can get through this. I'm not going to mess up. And it's a psychological thing. And then that moment is coming, you start psyching yourself out. But if you have that section down, that part of it, and this is true for anything, I think. Car racing, that corner always messes me up. Well, and I don't know, you can't really drive that same corner over and over and over again. But so that's kind of the idea, is that you just woodshed that thing that is you're struggling with, and just play it over and over and over again. So in the case of like changing from, say you're having a problem changing from C to D, that's a lot of fingers moving from C to D, but it's in the middle of a song. Well, don't practice the song, just practice that change. Practice C, strum 1 C, go to D. Try to get to the point where your fingers are all moving at the same time. Notice the paths that the fingers have to take. When you're going from C to D, your first finger is going from here to here. Okay? Your second finger is going from here to here. It's staying on the same fret, but it's moving quite a distance. Third finger is doing the same thing. It's moving almost the same. So if you think about it, these two fingers are moving to the exact same. Now, again, I say think about it, then you also don't want to overthink. Yeah, he's driving in circles anyway. That's true. NASCAR, that's right. And IndyCar, too. I actually prefer IndyCar over... I prefer IndyCar over Formula One. The thing about Formula One, I think Formula One is the track's much more interesting. Every race is a different track. But yeah, notice the paths that the fingers are taking, and you want them to all move at the same time. The IndyCar, it's kind of one of those things where you think, oh, it's the racing is the art, but it's actually more like speed. It's about fine tuning the tires, the gear ratios, the angles on your foils, or and on your wings. Indy 500, which I grew up in Indianapolis. It's like. Yeah, it's about racing, and there's very few racing moments, though, where somebody's passing somebody. Those, there'll be 20, 30 of those, but there's probably 1,000 decisions or calculations made throughout the race. So it's all about, and originally, the Indy 500 was a testing ground for cars and tires and engines and all that stuff, and it still is. Stuff that they're working on and utilizing today are going to show up in our cars in 10, 20 years. Formula One seems more skill driven. I think there's more skill in the driver. I think more rests on the driver. But with IndyCar, I think more rests on the crew and the team. It's ironically is a very team sport, I feel like. In fact, I'm sure that the team makes a lot of money when the purse. I think the Indy 500 winner gets like $5 million, but I'm sure he has to share that with everybody. So it sounds like a lot of money, but then when you share it with your team, give them, it's not so much. But Horse with No Name is easy. It's a great beginner chord song. It's just 2 chords that are very kind of easy to play chords. It's just E minor, and then you separate your fingers. Again, you kind of look at those paths, and the fingers go in 2 different directions. And that alone, it's like, wait, I don't normally in life have my fingers go in 2 different directions. You don't. It's just weird. Unless you're going, hey, you're Vulcan. But yeah. So, and one of the things you can do, gamer, is one of the best ways to get better is to teach a little bit. Like if you got somebody that wants to learn guitar and you know a little bit more than they do, you can show them some stuff. You learn a lot when you teach. I found that to be the case. I've learned a lot teaching you guys here on this live stream. But I started teaching when I was right before my 18th birthday. Well, actually, I was teaching when I was 15. I happened to have my guitar at school, and there was a teacher came up to me and said, "Do you teach guitar lessons?" I go, "Well, I don't know." She goes, "I'll pay you $5 to teach my son a guitar lesson." I went, $5? Are you kidding me? You know, for a half an hour lesson? And she came over, picked me up, took me to her house, taught her son, and then took me home. It didn't last very long, probably because it was kind of a pain to teach. And I, you know, at 15, I didn't really know how to teach. But then at 17, I got offered that job at that studio when they lost a teacher, and I took 4 students. And I think I kept those 4 students all the way through high school. I think one of them was Scott Houston, who's a really good guitar player. I mean, I had a couple of kids come through there that just like, "Oh my gosh, you are killing it." You know, and I'm wondering if they're like trying to remember my name. They're like, "What was that? My first teacher. I love him so much. He was so great. I can't remember who it is." So, also Paul Davids reached out. And he's working on the video we did. So hopefully soon we'll see the Paul Davids video that we did, and that may jumpstart my channel a little bit. I may have to start getting ready with some new videos. You know, like I said, I wish I'd broken that. I could have broken that mandolin up into like at least 3 videos. I could have done that. I could still do that. I could chop it up but I'd have to re-record. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. It's up. If it takes off, great. I mean, if I look at it, 84 likes, almost 1,000 views. You know, like before I was saying, you know, I was looking through, like I got 2,400 views, which is just not enough to justify the time. I just don't. What's this one? They got 6. Oh, Bluegrass Sham in G at 140. Yeah, those tend to do pretty well, and those are easy to do. And here's a 1/6 or the Circle of Fifths, which is kind of a fun one. 7 More Tips got 68,000. So that one actually, probably because I put a link in the last one. Let's see how much money I've made. I'm not ashamed. Oh no, that's right. I mean, I'm a little ashamed when they make really very little money. I'm like, oh gosh, I worked for 3 cents an hour. It's like they're trying to make sure everyone's getting minimum wage or whatever, but it's like, yeah, you can't do that in this. So on that 7 More Tips for older beginners, all beginners, I've made $354. So, and it's gotten 96 views in the last 48 hours. So that one's $350. Yeah, I think that's probably worth my time. I don't remember how long I spent on it. I don't keep track of that. I just know when it would take a long time. In other words, I could live another 100 years. I probably won't make enough money off that mandolin video to justify the time spent on it. But you know, you do other videos in the hopes that you kind of catch lightning in a bottle again and again, you know, more than once. Bluegrass, yeah, the jams. I should do more bluegrass jams, I guess. I don't know. People liked, you know, those are easy to do. Yeah, and then, yeah, nothing over. Here's one that has some fun chords in open C tuning, 30,000. So 30,000 views, not $30,000. I wish. That would be nice. Okay, wait, where's the analytics? Okay, let me go to analytics. $132. But interestingly, the viewership on this, and I've gained 231 viewers on that. That's super interesting. Because open C tuning is not a tuning I use very often, or if ever. In fact, I'm not even sure which version of open C tuning I did on this video. But it's like the line on it is literally a straight line. It's not, normally a video does this, like early and then it flattens, right? But this one, I'll do a screenshot so you can see. I don't even know if I'm supposed to tell you the amount, the money. I know I'm supposed to tell you if I'm making, oops, oh, sorry, that did, okay, that's why that didn't work. Let me do this again. See, look at that. That's actually, I love that. That's great. So it's just, this one's going to be evergreen. Now, it's a pretty old video, but it's got 79 views in the last 48 hours. But it was posted in April 8th, 2021. So, you know, it's not geometric. What was the other one that was doing well? The 7 tips, the 7 more tips. So let me look at that one and see what the ramp is on that. I mean, I just saw it a second ago, but I didn't take a screenshot of it. Let's see. Where is it? There. No, some fun chords. Oh, because I have to go backwards. I'm sorry. All right. Okay, so here's 7 more tips. Okay, so click on analytics. Yeah, and this one is a little bit more of a typical kind of path or pattern. Come on. There we go. See how it starts out with a big kind of ramp, and then it kind of leveled out and it ramps up a little bit. So this one's got a good, you know, not a bad climb on it. So yeah, so these are interesting. So let's look at the mandolin one. I've only got 900 views of that one, but let's just see what it's doing. It's been out for, yeah, this is much more typical of my typical video and makes it really tough. Now this one has 82 views in the last 48 hours, but it also is brand new. And with looking at this chart, you can see where it's just totally flattening out. Now the gray, the lighter, so the gray there is my typical. So you can see how my average is like not great. I mean, to have in 7 days only 500 views of a video, that's not worth my time. And there's nothing for you to do. I mean, you can always promote my videos on forums. One thing that's interesting is that when I post a video, it asks me if I want to allow embedding, okay? Here's the thing I've noticed about embedding. Have you ever noticed that when you go to like a forum and someone's embedded a video and you click on it, click on the play button in the embedding, there's no ad. But if you click where it says YouTube, it opens a new window and it opens it up in YouTube, there'll be an ad. And I'm kind of like, well, then if I allow embedding, am I allowing people to watch my video without generating any revenue? I allow embedding because I feel like it's free promotion, and the hope is that people will go, oh, I like this guy, I like how he teaches, I'm going to click on this, I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to watch his videos. But I think in embedding, it doesn't generate. Do I have a gateway video if someone goes to one video and then to another? Yeah, some of the stats are, let's see, engagement. No, that's audience, revenue, returning viewers. So this percentage are returning viewers, new viewers. And that's actually the one I'm trying to get sometimes. Yeah, unique viewers. So of that, I got 755 unique views on that. Now, let me open another one because this is actually, I haven't looked at this data before. Let's look at the 7 more tips. Okay, so if we look at the 7 more tips, which is one that's, you know, got a lot of views, let me see what percentage of those are audience. Okay. Oh, it's, why is there not information there? That's weird. Unique views, recurring views. But it generated 1,800 new subscribers, which is good. The mandolin one did 3 subscribers, but that's okay. But it's really, the unique views is falling. I think I titled it pretty good. Sometimes the title will really help. But yeah, it's, oh, as far as where, okay, sorry, where are they coming from? Yes. How viewers found this video. Let's say, so this is the analytics that I get from Google on the mandolin video, the new video that came out a week ago. Okay, so the traffic source, 46% was YouTube recommendations, and that was YouTube Home and Up Next. So 400 of those views were from YouTube recommendations. Subscription feed. So when you subscribe, if you hit that bell or something, if you subscribe, it should show up in your feed. That represents 30%. Notifications is the bell. That's 11%. So thank you for those of you who have the notifications on. You get a notification that I'm live, and you'll get a notification when I drop a new button. So that's, you know, at most going to be 2 times a week. So hopefully it's not annoying. 5% are external, 7% are other, and let's see, it says more here, information. I click on this. Playlists, nope, none of them are playlist. Playlist page. Yeah, playlist doesn't really generate a lot. I do put videos into playlists, but people don't tend to go through my playlists, which is kind of a good way. That's a tool I use a lot, because if a good YouTuber will put their videos in different playlists. So like there could be a playlist of covers, and a playlist of music theory, and a playlist of licks, and a playlist of gear reviews and stuff like that. So I may go to, if I really like the way they do gear reviews, but I don't like any of their other teaching, I may go and just watch their playlist on gear reviews. Does that make sense? Is that a gray and silver Bouzouki on the wall? Well, I think the light's just hitting it too hard. I mean, yeah, it's Opa! Yeah. It's a spruce top. I think I paid like $350 for that. I don't know. I found it on Reverb or Etsy, and I didn't want to get a real. I mean, I didn't want to spend $1,200 on a Bouzouki. I'm getting to the point where I wouldn't mind having a nice oud. I follow somebody on Instagram, and I'm kind of amazed at how cheap they are. There's a store in Saudi Arabia, and they play them, and they sound pretty good. But I'm like, I know that they can get up to 5,000, and these are almost all under 1,000. So I'm like, and I really, really opt away from anything ornate. Because I don't want to pay for any filigrees or inlays, or I don't care about any of that. They could have put a plain black pickguard on there, would have been totally fine with it. If it saved me $1.50, because I'm not taking it on stage for the most part. I don't need to be a showman. I'm just playing guitar in my studio for the most part. When am I going on Threads? I don't think I need any more social stuff. I'm on Twitter, so I think if you go to T Strahle Twitter, you can see me there. And I'm on Twitter because I have so many people in the business that follow me and I follow. So, and I'm hardly ever on Facebook anymore. So, and I'm not even on Instagram that much anymore. I was on yesterday because I was posting videos of me and the boys making a wash tub base, so you can see that. But yeah, it's not. Yeah, so yeah, and the interesting thing is my live stream. I got Wendy, I got Holly, I got Kathy. I mean, ladies here represent a good 10% of the viewers on my live stream. But here on this 7 more tips, it was 1.9% of the viewers were women. The great thing is, 86% were non-subscribers. So that's why, and I'm talking about the 7 more tips video. It's not telling me, yeah, there's some information I'm not getting. Yeah, so we'll see. But that one's okay. That one's generated enough to justify its existence. It could get to 100,000 pretty soon. It's got a nice little arc to it, so we'll see. Oh, it's growing fast. Oh, that's great. Yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I don't post hardly at all on Twitter, so I don't know what I would say on Threads. It's basically the same thing. So, and Zuckerberg has enough of my money. So, yeah, Bruce, that's how all of you pretty much found me. I mean, that video. Let's see what the arc is on that one. It's by far my most viewed video. It's at 3.7 million views. I'm almost at 4 million views on that. That's crazy. 3767. 4,300 comments, 96% likes. It's funny because that's, whenever you got a video that's that popular, it's going to show up on a lot of threads. People are going to be like, I get a lot of like, you talk too much. Like, you just want me to sit there and do nothing. So let's see. Audience, last 28 days, it's gotten me 500 new subscribers. Since uploaded, it's gotten me 72,000 subscribers. 72,000 subscribers from that one video. That's crazy, isn't it? Let me look at what's the arc on it? Well, see, the arc is crazy because here, check out this arc, and this is the entirety of its arc. No, wait. I mean, this thing blew up almost right away. Look at that. I have no idea how that happened. I didn't do it. I didn't pay for promotion. I didn't do anything. It just, you can see. And then it's just a kind of a steady. And then it kind of, when COVID happened, it started to peak again, right? You see that bump in the middle there, just past the 2019 and before the October 7th. That was the COVID bump. And that was from me doing like a live stream every day. And then there was another bump here that's probably towards the end when COVID was still happening and it was Christmas, people were off. So it's just, it's kind of hard to tell how many views these actually are because it looks like not many because if I didn't have that peak at the beginning, then that blue line would be higher up. So there's really no, comparison there. But okay, I need to take off. I got some things going on today. Yes, birthday things. But that's you in the bump. All the way back in the COVID bump. Are you the COVID bump? Catherine, or are you the original bump? It's fascinating. I mean, I need to do I have actually accumulated some data points and things like that about YouTube. I should talk about having a YouTube channel. I mean, again, my original premise for creating my channel was to help musicians become professional and make a living. Try to give away the secrets. That's why it's called Guitar Pro Secrets. I'm sorry, Pro Guitar Secrets? I don't remember. Yeah, Pro Guitar Secrets. And so that that kind of helps. In fact, I can change my name to that, I think. I forget how to do that. There's a way to do that. But thank you, Gary. And thank you, Catherine. Oh, you were the COVID bump. Okay. Yeah, so my initial thing was all about trying to help musicians. And then the 7 tips for older beginners was a recommend by one of my subscribers who subscribed because of my open tuning things. And so I was like, okay, that's a great idea. And so I came up with the video. I came up with the 7 ideas. It was his idea to say. He said, "Oh, you should do something for like tips for beginners." And I'm like, I can do that. So I don't need this window open anymore. All right. So yeah. Anyway, I will talk to you later. And I'm on Instagram. I mean, you're welcome to follow me. I have it open. I haven't closed it. I did close it for a while. I don't really post a lot, and mostly birthday stuff. I'm going to probably start posting a little bit more like what I'm up to kind of stuff on there, but I don't know. I'm kind of, the older I get, the less I care about the social media stuff, and it's like the less information I want to give them about my life if I can help it. So they're getting a ton of it here. I talk about everything on this, so you're welcome. I guess this is technically social media, but I don't think of it. I don't think of this as social media. I think of this as a service I'm providing. Joseph, thank you for the birthday gift. I appreciate that. And you guys are a gift every week. I appreciate you all like tuning in and helping me not be so lonely. But we'll, I subscribed during live version number 20. Oh, 143. Oh, okay. Well, that's not that long ago, Sam. I feel like you've been with me forever. Gary's been around for a long time. Well, we'll see what happens when Paul Davids posts the video we did. I thought, oh, it could double my channel. I doubt it'll double my channel. I mean, he's got 3.5 million. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we'll see a bump. We'll see a bump here on the live stream. We may see, 30, 35 average people or 45. I don't know. We'll see. And there's going to be a lot of people that seem to want to talk about the Bieber thing, because that's what we're talked about in this video that Paul Davids and I did. So we'll see. He hasn't. I don't know when it's coming out. He just emailed me last week to say, oh, he's been busy, and so he hadn't had a chance to get to it. We filmed a lot of footage. He's going to make it kind of short. I felt bad for him because he was here for 2 hours, and he had 2 cameras, and we filmed the whole time. It was like 4 hours of footage. Yeah, but it will be interesting to see what he does. So thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. I will see you next Monday, I think. Let me think. Yeah, I think I'm here next Monday. So we'll talk to you. I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye. We'll keep going on Capoing. I'm gonna keep grilling you on this stuff. Okay? Bye-bye.